So I was doing my daily scroll, keeping up with the latest new tech releases, when I came across this effect on Google's new Notebook LM site. This is cool, I thought, and it got my creative juices flowing, and I knew I wanted to recreate it, so I did exactly that. I started by setting up the structure of my website with some basic elements and styling, then created a heading for the typewriter effect. I increased the font size and applied a gradient by setting the background image to a linear gradient, clipping the background of the text, and making the text transparent to reveal the background beneath. For the blinking cursor, I also used CSS. I gave the heading element a solid right border and added some padding to separate it from the last letter. To create the blinking effect, I created an animation called blinking cursor with a 1 second duration, linear speed, and made it repeat infinitely. For the keyframes, I copied the border color over for 0 and 50% before making it transparent for 50.1 and 100%. Now, since the entire animation lasts for 1 second, the border was visible for half a second and invisible for the other half a second, giving me my blinking effect. Now for the typewriter effect. I started by going back to my heading and giving it a dataset containing the array of words I wanted to cycle through. Then in my JavaScript, I got a reference to this element and passed the words array. I knew I needed to keep track of the current word, so I created a global variable and set it to 0 to start with the first word. Then I created a typewriter function that retrieved the current word from the array using my index variable. To reveal each word one character at a time, I needed a variable to store the current character index, so I did just that, and also set it to 0 to start with the first character of the word. I defined both of these variables in the global scope rather than in the function, as I planned to call the function multiple times and didn't want the variables reset to 0 each time. To reveal the first letter, I incremented the current character index and used this to get a substring of the current word, setting this as the text of my heading. To finish typing the word, I used the setTimeout function to call my typewriter function again, and I created a new global variable to control how long to wait between revealing each letter. Finally, I called my typewriter function to get it started and watch as my first word typed out. Now it was time to start deleting the word. The word was ready to be deleted once it was fully typed, which meant the current character index was equal to the length of the word. I added that condition to the function and also created a global flag to indicate whether the function was still typing or not, and set that to false inside the condition. I then wrapped my typing code inside an if statement so it would only execute if the function was still typing a word. I needed to check that condition before calling the function to reveal the next letter, so I moved the setTimeout statement below the condition and added a return statement inside the if statement to stop it from being called. If the function wasn't typing, I wanted to delete the word, so I created an else statement and did the same thing as typing the word, but rather than incrementing the current character index, I decremented it, so the word would disappear letter by letter. This didn't work straight away because once the word was fully typed, I had stopped calling the function, so I added a call to the function inside this condition, but only after changing the flag. I also wanted the function to wait slightly longer than typing the word, so I created a new variable for that. Now it was typing and deleting the first letter, but in order to delete the rest of the letters, I needed to call the function using setTimeout like I did earlier. Great, I had my first word typing and deleting, but after deleting the word, I needed to move on to the next one. To do this, I created a new condition which triggered when the current character index equaled 0, signaling that the word had been fully deleted. Inside this condition, I set the isTyping flag back to true, which caused the function to type and delete the first word repeatedly. To move on to the next word, I incremented the current word index by 1 and made sure this stayed within the index bounds of the words array by using the modulus function with the length of the words array. Finally, I called the setTimeout function with the pause duration and added a return statement to prevent this setTimeout function from also being called. And just like that, I had the JavaScript for my effect complete. But there was just one problem left. I could see that when there was no letters in the heading, the other elements shifted up. This happened because the heading was growing and shrinking based on its content. However, since the heading is a block element, I was able to set a constant height. I jumped back over to my CSS as I needed to set the height of my heading to be equal to the line height of the word. By default, most browsers set the line height to be 1.2 times the font size, but just to be safe, I set it explicitly. So now the line height was 1.2 times the font size, or more specifically, 1.2 times 9 rem. I then set the height of the heading to be 1.2 em, because em is relative to the font size of the element, so now the height of the heading was 1.2 times 9 rem, matching the line height. And just like that, the whole effect was complete. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my other video where I create this cool character reveal using only HTML and CSS. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.